Starting off, there's a question that I want to get into about being selfish. And is being selfish ever beneficial? If so, when?
Yes. Obviously, it's a fine line, but I would say it's important to be selfish when you know you need to do that work that other people either aren't understanding of or are against. Because obviously we live in a time where there's some that get it and some that don't get it. But you kind of have to ignore all of that. I could even take that back to when I was even before I started my mental health journey. When I started my physical health journey, everybody around me. I'm from Virginia. I'm from the South, so like, oh, you could have a little piece of fried chicken, or you could have a cheese doodle. You know what I'm saying? When I'm literally in the middle of trying to, I see the end game, and I'm like, I'd lost like 70, 80 pounds at that point, and I'm like, no, and I'm being judged for that. Like, that's when you have to be selfish enough to say, no, what I'm doing is what I'm doing, and it's important to me, and that's what's most important to me. Now, when it becomes a problem is when you're selfish for reasons that don't serve you or anybody else. That's my take on that.
Can I just back you right on up there, beep beep, because I feel 100%. Of course, it goes with knowing thyself, because there are people, even people who love people. Sometimes people don't even mean to be like selfish or hurtful in a way. They're just moving off of what is good for them, and they expect you to move or think or be in that way. But sometimes knowing yourself sometimes will tell you when you need to be selfish. Sometimes, even if it's a friend, your friend is being who they are, and they want a certain thing, or they're moving in a certain thing, or they're going to this club and they're just being a friend. They want to invite you, they want you to come, da da da. But you have to be like, no, based off of what yourself is telling you, or where you are within yourself, or what you may need. So yeah, it's paramount to be selfish sometimes. It's the word that makes it sound bad, selfish, but it's self. It's self. Sometimes you have to put you need to put yourself first. Like, I have this thing that I wrote down as me first. Not to be not to be a jerk, not to be anything, but sometimes, a lot of times, me putting myself first and being selfish will allow for me to be a better helper, friend, aunt, whatever, this and the third. So yes, I feel for that reason, because people are selfish in their own way, and they are expecting you to be and to move how they want you to, it requires you to be selfish if you love yourself. That's my take.
I think it's actually like beneficial for the relationships that you have with people, because I have a friend and she always sets boundaries. Like, if I ask her to do something and she doesn't want to do it, she'll say, no, I don't want to do that. And I think that's been like better for our relationship. Actually, with my other friends who don't have them boundaries, I'm struggling, because like when people have them boundaries, you feel safe, and like they feel safe, and it just feels comfortable for everyone. And I think it's really important to like, yeah, put yourself first and say, I don't want to do that. Like, and I think normal people will also respect that and will actually be thankful that you're saying that, because then they know how to navigate when they're around you. Because sometimes when there's this looseness and people don't know like where to go with you, they can make mistakes, and they're not even trying to hurt you, they're not trying to like offend you, they just don't know. But then like the minute you say, actually, I don't like that, this is my goal, like you set your boundaries, normal people will respect that, and it will just make communication better for everyone. So yeah, I think sometimes it's important to put yourself first and say like what you like, what you don't like, and people should respect that at the end of the day.
Pretty sad. That was good. I like the word boundaries. Boundaries is so much better than selfish, because a lot of times people get them too confused, but that's really ultimately what it is. That was good.
Caroline, did you have a take on it?
Yeah, I think I agree with what everybody said. I think it puts you on shaky ground and goes back to what I said earlier about Adriana's piece making me think about chaos, you know. And I know for myself, when I wasn't boundaried enough and when I was being like superbly people pleasing, it's confusion, it's internal confusion, especially as an empath, actually, because you can feel what people are feeling and then you're anticipating. But bottom line is, does it fit? Again, it links into authenticity and being that highest vibration of authentic. And I'll just finish by saying that when I worked in children's services and I was going through the dark night of the soul, and I had a long period off sick for about 6 months. And when I went back to work, I said to myself, I'm not doing it the way I used to do it. And I was extremely boundaried. So I wouldn't interact with colleagues that I felt were negative. I wouldn't participate with things that I thought were negative. With the young people that I worked with, I was extremely boundaried. My phone went off when I left work. My phone was only on when I was in work. They knew when they could get hold of me. And if I wasn't at work, because I was now part-time instead of full-time, they would have to phone up the duty workers. And it's that thing, Victoria again talks about it a lot, putting your gas mask on first. And me building up myself and being really strong in myself made me a much better worker with the young people and a much better colleague. And what I saw by setting the boundaries with the colleagues was that the ones that were like me, it started off with me feeling quite alone. And then quite quickly, the ones that were more in alignment with me came to the forefront. And we started to be around each other more in work. So I wasn't having to deal with just little things like, for me, if I'm in a training course and someone's speaking, I don't want somebody next to me going, what are they talking about? And why are they saying that? And you know what I mean? I'm trying to concentrate, I'm trying to listen. And I actually think that's really disrespectful. And if it was me at the front doing that, you know, that's off-putting for the person presenting. So don't do that, you know. And so those people that used to do that with me, stop doing it. And instead, I'm sitting next to the people in the meeting that are going to be quiet and listen like me, you know. So it is really amazing how the universe moves when you move. When you set your boundaries and you become clear and you're firm in yourself, it becomes a more solid foundation instead of internal and external chaos.
Yes, indeed. This question came from the time that I studied more science, and it was something that was brought up about being selfish, because, like, was it Cynthonia that said sometimes the word selfish gets a bad rep. But if you look at ish, behind the self, ish is to be like self, right? There's another term called healthy selfishness. I'll end with this. And it's about prioritizing your own well-being and needs while still respecting and considering the needs of others. It's about self-care, setting boundaries, and recognizing your own value, which ultimately allows you to be more present and effective for others.
Yeah, like you say, that term, it's a word. There's a lot of these words that are thrown out there, and they've been reversed. So we see that it's been put onto us that it's negative. Selfish is negative. But like you say, I love what you just said there about the science of the word. That helps me with clarity, absolutely. Because when I saw your question, actually, I thought it's the word that's triggering, not the behavior.
Yeah,
Yes,
that you
indeed.
just put me on. That can change the perspective. Just knowing that one little piece, I never knew that about Ish. You know that wow, that changes a lot. Like in the word, how did it
Yeah.
even get a bad connotation? But whatever.
Right.
That's dope. That's so. That's such a good thing to know. Cool. Thanks. Mhm.
You're
Make
welcome.
it easier to be selfish.
You're welcome. So we're going to go on to the next question. And this one is about self-love. Can we love ourselves fully if we don't forgive?
No, you can't,
And why?
because forgiveness is a part of self-love. Because usually, I mean, it's an old saying, but it's a true one. If you can't learn to forgive yourself and other people, you cannot truly love yourself. If you're lacking forgiveness of other people, if you're holding on to their weight, then you're not fully in balance, which means you're always going to have conflict within self. If you don't love yourself, of course, it's going to be ultimate chaos. So no, you absolutely have to forgive for you. It's a hard lesson to learn, and a lot of people struggle with it, but it is probably one of the most important ones, in my opinion.
I'll jump in next then, and I think it is about what non-forgiveness does, like you're saying, what it does to your self, your vibration, your energy, you know. And I think you do have to, this is something I've personally struggled with, and Omae and I, we've had this conversation, because in this regard she's very similar to me, in that we both don't really like conflict or negative emotion. We both struggle with that, and we you know, I can run from it, but you have to go through the feelings in order to get to forgiveness. So you're allowed to be angry, you're allowed to have, like, should I say hateful wicked thoughts, you know, you're allowed to do that, but you have to, it has to be a part of a process of coming out the other side. You can't stay in it, you know. And I know there's certain situations and individuals I've struggled to forgive, and it's just because I don't want to recognize the fallacy in them, you know, just like there's the fallacy in me. And that's the mirror, you know, is accepting and understanding that they weren't born that way. Circumstances led them to be that way for whatever reason. And sometimes, you know, it's a weakness. It's not because they're nasty or mean or whatever, although the action may be. It's actually a weakness in their ability to do something different. And for that, we have to forgive.
Yes, indeed. Because forgiveness is not for the other person, really. When you think about it, you forgiving is a release. You're letting go of whatever you thought you were wronged by another person, regardless of deserving it or not. But there's power in forgiveness that we sometimes overlook.
I feel like dang, I feel kind of like what Caroline said, because you can't love without loving yourself. You can't love other people. You have to learn. You have to love yourself for real before you could love, forgive other people, right? But I feel like, honestly and truly, I feel like you can know, as long as you're in the process of forgiving. Like, you don't have to completely have forgiven, but you could be transforming. You could be you could be. I'm still like, I'm loving myself more and more, and as I'm loving myself more and more, I'm starting to forgive more and more. I didn't forgive I didn't forgive completely or whatever to like start loving. Like I like focused in on myself and love myself and like was starting to be okay with the things I didn't like so much, and like everything outside of that has gotten a little bit easier. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like my resentment and things towards my foster mother and my biological mother, like even to this day now, I can't really 100% say that I 100% forgive them, but I love myself, and I'm loving myself more and more, and it's helping me to be less less resentful, like towards them, or like I don't have like bad things to say, like, you know what I'm saying? Like before I used to be like, oh, if they died, I wouldn't cry, I wouldn't care. Like now, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I have less and less, like, so I forgive more and more. Like, all right, now I'm to the point where I understand why she did X, Y, and Z. Before I couldn't even like grasp that or get that. I didn't care to, like, I just didn't. So for me, and this is just on me, I feel like they go hand in hand. So I feel like you need a little bit of both to start moving the scale. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think you have to have one in order to have the other or the other. I think like a little bit of both and intention could kinda, that's my opinion.
Yeah, can I ask?
With that.
Go on, Adriana.
No, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that is self-love as well, is knowing it's that inner child and actually loving yourself enough to go, I didn't deserve that. You know, because sometimes, and I think it goes back again to what Adriana said about pushing yourself to the side, and it's not even accepting things, it's just a coping strategy. And I've seen that with a lot of the young people that I've worked with. You know, you have to, for survival, and it's in neurological science and all of that. Sometimes things are that traumatic that you have to box it off and put it way back, but it doesn't go away. It will start to come up. You know, it will come up in thoughts, it will come up in dreams, it will start to hammer at you, you know. And so I think that it's realizing, loving yourself enough to realize I did not deserve that treatment. And I shouldn't have been treated like that. But then the other side of it that I've learned personally and professionally is going, but what led them to do that? Why are they that way, to act that way? And I've used the analogy with young people before when we've talked about, you know, family members and things, that your expectation is out of sync. It's like expecting a dog to climb a tree. Cats climb trees. Dogs don't climb trees. So you're sitting there waiting for that dog to climb the tree, and it's never going to do it because it's not equipped to. And often in life, that's what we're dealing with, is that people are not equipped. They behave the way they behave because of the experiences that they've had. You know, and I think I saw an interview with Taraji P. Henson where she was talking about there's a tribe in Africa where if somebody does something to wrong the others, they will put them in the middle of the tribe and everyone will speak positive affirmations to that person to remind them of who they are, you know, because it's acknowledging that the society that we live in has some really toxic stuff going on. There's a lot of recent history, like with Windrush, like with, is it IMI that talked about, in your piece, IMI, you said about post-traumatic stress, slavery.
Post-traumatic slave syndrome, yeah.
Yeah, that's in our most recent DNA. It's not generations ago. It's like your grandparents, your great-grandparents. So what has led to this behavior? When you're a slave and you're being beaten and you're being whipped and there's butt breaking and there's torturous, all this stuff, it stands to reason that you're going to have a generation of people that beat their children with sticks off a tree. You know, we have to break cycles of trauma. And for me, that's what helps forgiveness, is really realizing if humanity had a different history, we'd behave differently.
1000%. I totally agree with that. I'll just add that I think in Tone's case, like, you're on the right track. Like, that's exactly what me and Caroline are talking about, getting to that place where you can appreciate a person for who they are, so much so that whatever it is that they did to you doesn't cause you harm anymore. That's releasing that weight. So just because you don't feel like you're 100% there yet doesn't mean you're not doing the work. Tone is right on point. Yin and yang, and the purpose of what she's doing makes perfect sense. She's basically where a lot of people who are trying are. And if we could all get to that place, it would be a lot easier for us to understand what being consciously selfish is, what forgiveness really is, what understanding a whole human being is. And the closer we get to that, the better. But the generational trauma is the biggest and most heavy bear, especially for Black people, because we definitely have a lot of internalized toxicity that a lot of people don't want to let go of or don't even realize that they have.
Yeah, and just to put the final lid on what you've just said, Adriana, and support everything that you said in regards to you as well, Cynthonia, is that there are absolutely levels of trauma. You know, what you've disclosed to me, I just can't imagine that. You know, of course it's going to take you a lot more work, but what is resulting, as I've said many times, is this really beautiful, empathetic, patient, loving, spiritual being. But my trauma, any trauma I want to talk about, is not comparative to yours on any level. It really isn't. Like, that destroys a lot of people. So for you to be doing the work and be who you are is, you know, outstanding.
I just want to say one thing, Irma, because I'm not taking away from my experiences because I've lived through them. They're pretty deep. But who's to say that I could have survived what you went through? We can't compare, you know what I'm saying, situations, because to me, you're like, yeah, the abuse, the rape, the this, the that, like, it's messed up, but like being intimate with somebody and loving somebody and thinking that I'm going to share life with somebody and having kids and not going that way and it being what it wasn't supposed to be. I don't know. We can't compare traumas. Yours was bad too. You know what I'm saying? And you have kids with your situation. So I dealt with a lot, but you dealt with a lot too, is what I'm trying to say. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what's sticking out to me is that sometimes it's expected that if you forgive, you forget. You don't have to forget, because that allows you to still go through, okay, you know what, this happened. And now if something like this arises again, I can be prepared while still, you know, not holding resent towards somebody. And it's a gradual process. It's not, oh, I forgive you and all is well. It's, I'm learning, I'm working on me, and in that I'm learning to love myself fully. Did you have something you want to share, Omae?
Oh yes. I was gonna say that, like, I think it's so important that people actually go through things in life, because I think the people that I'm around who've actually been through like real things, they're way better emotionally and they're way better people. Like the school I go to is a very like high income school, and I've been in classes where I've been sitting and I've been listening to people complain about like the smallest things, and I'm like what do you have to complain about? Like there's nothing to complain about. And then you have people who've gone through way more in their life, like deeper stuff, and they're way better people. And I think it's so important that we actually go through situations in life to come out a better person. Like what mom's told me about her life has definitely made her a better person. She's more spiritual and empathetic, and she knows things about my character that she's learned about her character, so then she can pass that down to me. And there's been things that I've struggled with, but she knows about it because she's already struggled with it herself, so she can advise me on what to do. And I think when we look at forgiveness, it does definitely take time, because like I had a friend, and we kind of fell out, and as mom was saying, I think at the time, I think you should be allowed to feel the feelings that you're feeling and not trying to like cut them off, because obviously it's happening in real time. But yeah, definitely forgiveness is important for yourself, because then you can kind of let go of that emotion and acknowledge that that person was sent to you for a reason. It was sent to you for a learning and like development of who you are. And yeah, as mom was saying, I don't think you guys would be who you were without them things that happened in your life. And everything, different things happen to people in their lives to make them a certain way. No one's going to have the same story. And it's just, yeah, important for forgiveness for yourself to kind of like let go of that like hateful emotion. And yeah, that actually people that usually have the most cushy lives aren't always the best people. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times we have to forgive ourselves, because what happened to us, we're thinking like, oh man, I'm so stupid. We start calling ourselves all these names. How could I have let this happen? I should have known better, or whatever it was, or thinking we were so defenseless at a time when that's just what it was. And in order for us to get through on the other side stronger, we have to give ourselves grace and definitely forgive ourselves. So moving right along to the next one. Oh, you want to share? Okay.
I just want to add to what you said, because I can't slide past it. That is, as what you're saying, it's programming as well. Self-denigration is a program. You know, to say, oh, I'm this and I'm that. I've done it, and it took a lot of work for me to actually accept that you don't ever have to say anything bad about yourself. You're allowed to make mistakes, and you're allowed to still go, but I'm a great person, and I made a mistake. You don't have to destroy your own character. And I think people who are empathic, you know, people who are loving and kind can have the worst self-talk, because they're way harder on themselves. And when you look at people who are like sociopaths or psychopaths, they don't care about anything that they do, and they are confident as anything. Their self-talk is topper, you know. So it's not, you shouldn't ever. And this is, I think I said it in one of my poems, that denigration of self is not something that I'm ever going to do again, because there's nothing in it. There's nothing to be gained by doing that, ever.
No, there's no wins in self-denigration. So we're gonna go on and get a bit dark. Can we get dark?
You mean we
not
haven't
in a not in the way of, well, let me not put anything on it and just ask the question. This one is about the dark side of self. Have you suppressed the dark side of yourself, and how has it served or been a disservice to you?
Yes. Well, y'all just heard a lot about it, truthfully. But I think you're doing yourself a disservice by suppressing it, personally, because I did my best to bury a lot of things, and eventually everything came to the surface. Like after a certain point, it happens to everyone, and the way they crash out is different, but it happens to literally everybody. If you stifle all of the dark parts of yourself and don't accept them as part of who you are and release them, you are doomed to catastrophe, in my opinion. Like there's no way that serves you well. It also can bring out the worst types of characteristics in a person, because you're spending a lot of energy and time burying parts of yourself. You're being inauthentic. You're being a fraud.
You finished? I want to jump right on your back again.
Good.
Let me tell you something. Yeah, 100%. I feel like I feel like self-suppression is only. I think it's meant to be like a momentary thing in a situation. If you know you need to suppress your anger to calm down, cool down, get a level head, and then whatever. I don't believe that suppression of self in any way is supposed to. It's like putting pressure on something and eventually it explodes and then it erupts nasty, right? Like, so even with me trying to, I'm gonna tell you something. Even with me trying to like quit drinking and smoking, right? So I will sit there and I'll tell my friends or the people around me like, I'm like, I'm getting ready to start. I'm not gonna do it for 2 months, let's just say. Boom. After like the first week, now I'm sitting. So now after the first week, I may do it for the first week, couple of days. Now, this is honest. Now I gotta sneak and do it. I gotta hide and do it. I gotta do it in ways so when I get around them that I don't smell like weed, my eyes is not droopy. Now I gotta do these things to, you know what I'm saying? And now that's a whole nother problem. So now I'm lying. I'm not being authentic. I'm going on doing all of this stuff. I'm causing more headache, more problem. Now I'm being overwhelmed doing this. Now I got to keep up with this. And then the moment that somebody's smelling on me and they pull my coat, now I'm getting defensive. Now I'm doing it. Now I'm lying. Now it's just, no, I'm not suppressing. No, suppression. No. There's so much more I could say about that, but that's my quick answer. No suppression of self. You be moderate. You know you like rap music and you know what it do for you when you know that it can start getting you to think and move in certain type of ways. Have control over it, like, you know what I'm saying, give yourself some and discipline yourself. But to suppress and be like, no, I can't, no, because it's never gonna be good. That's my opinion.
And you just said it, you know, but all I was thinking while you were speaking is discipline versus suppression, because discipline is something else. And what we talked about earlier was discipline and growth. When you learn to discipline yourself, you're not pushing something down. You're in a habit of behaving in a more controlled manner. When you suppress something, you're being inauthentic. And I think the shadows, what I've learned for myself with the shadow is, and my cousin, who is like my twin, we're the same age and we grew up together. We had a conversation one time and it really helped me as a mirror to see myself, that I think when you are really kind and loving and that's your way, the shadow matches the light. The shadow is as big as the light. So I think people that are really loving, that are light workers, that are the light, like we are, and I will claim that and put it on you. I know my shadow. My shadow equals my light, mate. And sometimes I'm afraid of myself. A lot of the time, the fear isn't of others, it's of me and what I'm going to do if I lose it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the danger for me, I've learned, of suppression. Because if I suppress that whole pressure cooker thing, and I used to do it as a child, and I used to do it a lot more in my younger years. There was a time in my life, and my family will testify to this, you know, obedient, doing as I'm told, whatever. And I'm suppressing. And then I just go mad. And my thing would not to hurt people, it would be to trash my room. So growing up, I did that a few times over the years, like just destroyed, like went mad and destroyed. And they let me do it. I didn't get big discipline for it because deep down they knew she's justified in that. You know what I mean? Like we've been riding her too hard or such as whatever's been going. There was a time at school where I swore at a teacher when I was 16. And I was such a good girl at school. But I had a form tutor who was ex-police and he was racist. And all through from 11 to 16, he'd been doing stuff And I'd been just suppressing it and suppressing it and suppressing it. And then one day he just pushed me over the edge and I told him to F off. And they phoned my mom. I didn't get in trouble anywhere. The school didn't discipline me. Mom didn't discipline me. Everybody knew she's justified, leave her alone. Because this man has been riding her like a train for 5 years and she's never done anything. And Caroline never kicks off and she's never rude in that way. So for me to swear at a teacher, angrily swear, tell him to F off and walk out, like there's a reason. So I think, yeah, the shadow will match the light, which is why light workers, we all have to really have that self-discipline. And Omae and I had the conversation yesterday about not pacifying things. You got to address it in the moment because it's that pacifying that builds the pressure cooker. You know, you got to let it out, let it out, let it out, or it will be an explosion.
Yeah, because I think if I was to look at my shadow self, I think that's the main thing. I can be very passive and just like not say the way I feel. And I feel like it's easier for me to do it with my friends. I think it's easier for me to like say with my friends how I feel. But with my sister especially, sometimes it can be more difficult. And I had another situation because when I was like younger, I'd do it a lot. And I think over the years I've got better at it, like kind of not suppressing that side of myself. But yeah, when I was younger, I'd just press it quite a lot, and then it would like, same as mom, like come out in like a big burst of emotion and thing. And it wasn't healthy for myself. And this week I did it, like we were talking about it the other day, I did it with because I felt like my boundaries were being crossed, but I didn't say anything all week. And by the end of like yesterday, I had to really like do other things that can help me release my emotions, because it's usually like singing and dancing and stuff that helps me. And I had to do that because I didn't even realize how much it had been building up in me. But then when I kind of spoke about it, I did realize. And I think it's kind of accepting that like your shadow self, like the dark side of yourself, is still a side of yourself, and that actually in other situations it can be so useful. Like I had a situation with a friend, and like I actually had to, like she was really like harassing me, and I had to tell her to leave me alone. And it was one of those moments that I've been trying to not be that way. I was like, oh, don't do that, you don't want to upset her. And I literally had like a light bulb moment, and I was like, you have to do this, like, and this is where that part of myself was beneficial, because she left me alone after that. But yeah, that like accepting all sides of yourself is so important for self-love. And I think, yeah, it's like it has been really good for me that I've not been suppressing it as I've gotten older. So
cheers for that. You know what? I'm thinking about a battery right now, right? And how it has a positive and a negative side in order to provide power, right? And with our own personal power, both sides are needed. We need our positive and our negative side. I'm going to read something, and it says, the dark side of self, often referred to as the shadow self, encompasses the hidden, often negative aspects of personality that individuals may suppress or deny. It includes traits like anger, jealousy, selfishness, and other potentially harmful tendencies. While these aspects may be uncomfortable, they are a natural part of the human experience, and acknowledging them can be crucial for personal growth and well-being.
Yeah,
I think Omae is a perfect example of that, actually.
Yeah.
Caroline being a light worker and shining that light on her daughter helped her to more efficiently and more quickly transmute energy. Like imagine, Caroline, you as a teenager, I'm sure it took you a lot longer to get to that space. And you probably had a lot more flare-ups than she has. But I mean, I think this is a perfect example of that. You absolutely, the purpose of a light worker who goes through a lot is to impose that on the next generation so they're less prone to seeing themselves as negative for having these feelings and emotions and moving through them in a more healthy way.
Yeah, because we all know, we've all come across those people that are, you know, I would probably say, I would say about everyone in this space actually, that I wouldn't want to see, like the shadow of you you know, the people that are really working in the light, you know intuitively that the dark, if you bring the dark out in them, you better start running. You know, the people that are kind of always kicking off and always got a problem, and that to me, I'm not intimidated by that. Like, it's like empty vessels, the most noise. But people that are really, like Mom said it before, when Omae was younger, there was one instance, I can't remember what happened, but she told her off for something, and she said, she gave me this look. She said I was scared, because you don't get that regular, you know what I mean? But and I've got other family members. I've got a cousin he is peace personified. He's so gentle and loving and kind, but if he lost his temper, yo, I'm off ski. I'm going to turn and I'm going to sprint in the opposite direction, because I know the power that's going to come from that. And I think what you read out, Emmanuel, is so key, is knowing. And what Omae said as well, what everybody said, is that it's not bad. And it's that drawing of your sword thing again. It's actually very useful. And being nice isn't a good thing. Being kind is. But we all have to, goes back to that boundary setting. And it's the shadow that helps you to boundary set, that helps you to go, no, this is where I stand. And when people see that power, they're less likely to cross that boundary.
True indeed. True indeed. Now, we're going to circle back to being selfish, but this time with the context of the golden rule. So the golden rule states, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule is a principle often, you know, what people see in treating others as one would want to be treated. So if I like roses, I'm going to expect that somebody else likes roses too, right? It's a fundamental concept in ethics and morality, often expressed as that doing unto others as we would have them do unto us. Now, is this golden rule a selfish idea, is the question. Let's start with you, Caroline. What do you think about that?
Well, I think, thank you. I like starting with me. I think spiritually, it is, you attract what you are, not what you want to be. So if you do unto others as would be done unto you, you're going to attract others like you, you know. So whatever it is you want in your world, you need to be it. So I think that was my first thought on it, is that I think there's a misconception that we sit and we want to be things, but that's not how it works energetically and spiritually. How it works is, you don't aim to be, you are it. I am. And in me being loving and kind and caring and empathetic, I attract loving, kind, empathetic beings. And again, back to boundary setting, you evict anything that, like Cynthonia said right at the start, you evict anything that don't fit into that, you know. So yeah, I absolutely believe in the golden rule. And you do unto others as you would want done unto yourself.
Do you think it's selfish, though? Do you think it's a selfish idea?
It's selfish in a good way. Like you said, going back to your definition of selfish. What I was saying to the girls the other day about, you know, these millionaires that do all this philanthropy and they give all this money out and stuff. It's not necessarily out of the goodness of their heart. It's the law of reciprocity. And they know that if I want more money, I need to give money out. If I hold it, I'm disrupting the flow, the energetic flow of it, you know. So you got to give it to get it. If you don't give it, you ain't going to get it. So it's selfish in the fact of, this is for me. It's a generous act, but really it's for me.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking about. It also is assumptions. It assumes that the other person likes what you like, or thinks that you know, what you're doing is something that they want done. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
That's that you pulled the words right, you slid them right off my tongue. Cause I was like, at first I was like, nah, but then when you said it slow, I'm like, hold up. And not in the contents of the actual what I know selfish to me now, but in the way that it's used, the connotation that it has. Yeah, actually, it is kind of actually selfish if you think about it, because that's just like me telling Fayola, I understand that you Blue's mom, but you're raising him to be who you want him to be, and your expectations for him and what you feel is right. And you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of the same idea, because it's like do unto others as you want done to you. And like you said, me and you are two different individuals. You could be somebody who likes flowers and hugs. Don't hug me. I'm not into that. You know what I'm saying? So different love languages, different, you know what I'm saying? And just to say like, somebody wants to be treated the way I want to be treated is selfish. Is a selfish way to think. I do unto others as they presume, as they show what they are deserving of, or what they, you know what I'm saying? I treat everybody accordingly to what they are, to how I move into their energy.
So as I was studying Morris science, this came up. And they said there's something called the platinum rule. Do unto others as they would like done unto them, not as you want done unto you.
But I want to add, though, that what I'm seeing the value underneath it rather than the actual act. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of, rather than I like flowers, so I'm going to give you flowers. Underneath that is, I like people to consider who I am. So I'm going to consider who you are. Does that make sense? So rather than give you flowers because I like flowers, I'm going to consider what you like and give you what you like.
Yours is a reciprocity of respect and like mutual understanding and communication, like on a bigger, in that sense, you know, doing to others as you would want done to you. That's not selfish in that, like universal principles and laws. No, I don't. That part, no, I don't feel is selfish. I feel like that's respectful. That's like connected. That's love. When you give unto others those universal principles, I feel like that's love. But anything outside of that and other than that, I feel like is like I said, doing to others as they would want done to themselves. Yeah.
What do you think?
That was a good point. That was a good point.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Mom said, that like it's the values beneath what you're doing. It's like you do certain actions, like if I went and hugged Mom, I do that because I wanted to show her that I love her, rather than just because I wanted to give her a hug, if you know what I mean. So I think when you're doing it with the values underneath, then I think that's good. I think it is selfish. I do think it's a selfish thing to do, because it's about what you want like people to do to you. But I think I think it's very positive. I think, as Cynthonia was saying, you don't want to like impose your ideas onto other people, because I do I used to do philosophy for my A level, so the golden rule, I had to revise that. And I think sometimes, especially when you're looking at ethics, people kind of confuse actions with like being a good person, and they attribute being a good person with specific actions. And I think if you were to take that golden rule in a like more negative way of selfishness, then it'd be like, oh, I don't like when people like pull practical jokes, so I'm never going to pull a practical joke, and I'll judge you if you do the same thing. But I think when we look at selfishness in like the positive way of it being like self-love and like putting yourself first sometimes, then I think the golden rule is positive, because you're doing them underlying values where actually you don't want to be judged, so you're never going to judge. It's like, I think the difference is between the value and the actual specific actions. And I think if you go from the values point, the golden rule is good. But yeah, I think it is. I would say that it is fundamentally selfish.
Now I want to hear what Adriana has to say to land the plane with this
Being
one.
marinated, right?
Yeah.
So there's another layer of complexity to the whole concept, in my opinion, especially based on what Omae just said. Like, there's another layer of possible negativity when you think about the fact of a lot of people who operate under the golden rule, right? But they don't actually believe it. Like, say they're in a place of turmoil in their life. Like, I'm thinking about my personal experience where there were a lot of times where I would present myself as this or that, but inside I would feel differently. Like, I know that this isn't something that I'm really vibing with. I'm just doing it to fit in, and that would bring on, negative energy. It's like that law of attraction. Like, you are attracting what you're actually presenting, not what you think. So yes, it's selfish either way. Like, it's selfish with assumption of what you think could possibly be, and yes, it is selfish when you're trying to put good into the world. I think it's definitely a delicate balance, but it starts with authenticity. It starts with being 100% yourself to start with, as opposed to starting on, I should say, on shaky ground. It's an interesting concept. It's definitely a lot of people who could stand to reevaluate how they act on the golden rule, shall we say.
True indeed. True indeed.
Can I add to that I think it's so
yeah.
right what you said about the authenticity and the intention? Because again, you will see, like, let's take the example of what Cynthonia said about not liking hugs. That some people will accept a hug off certain people because they know that that person's intention is good and that person is acting authentically, in authenticity. It's not a performative act. They're giving you a hug because they really love you and they want to give you that from a loving place. So sometimes it's all goes back to authenticity and intention. Deep, because I have to be honest, like, I'm not as well studied as my daughter. So Omae blew my mind a bit with all of that. I was sitting here trying to figure out what's she saying. Hold on a minute. and it's a great question, I, because you can really attack it from different angles and perspectives.
I was gonna say, we do this. That's why I really liked philosophy, because in ethics, like, one of the two main branches is like consequential or intentions. If you're gonna do something because of the outcome, the expected outcome. So if you're gonna, like, what example would I use? I don't know, hug someone to make them feel better, or if you're doing it out of the intention. And I think after doing it, I'll always go from the intention standpoint, and then I think that brings up a bunch of problems, because then people are like, oh, you can never know someone's intentions, and the legal system is obviously set up that it's consequential, but someone can do the exact same action. We do this idea of moral luck, where someone runs a red light and nothing happens, and someone else runs a red light, kills a child, they're going to prison now, and it's like they did the exact same thing. So sometimes it's hard when you're applying it to, like, larger scales universally. But I think, intentions definitely is, like, the main, like, the basis of everything. When you're treating someone, like, you can do the same action, but if your intentions are negative, you're just doing it for a certain outcome. Like, when your intentions are positive, it doesn't really matter what the outcome is. You're doing it for yourself, and it's about like, who you are and, like, developing yourself. So
that makes me think of something. Go ahead, because I'm gonna stick a pin with my thought.
Okay, I was just gonna say, and that whole thing about you don't know what the intention is, that's irrelevant. That's the 3D, and that's the mind. The spiritual and the truth, intention is the truth. It doesn't matter what, that's a very kind of Western way of looking at things, that analytical mind thing, the brain and going, well, we can't prove their intention. It doesn't matter whether you can prove it or not. Intention is intention. It is what it is. If you move in love, you're moving in love regardless of other people's perspective on your intention. Intention is truth. It's undeniable. So I wanted to add that.
Oh,
Yeah, undeniable for sure. You know what Omae said about giving, right? From an authentic place and being intentional made me think about, and maybe this will be a future conversation that we have about male, female, battle of the sexes, but it goes into giving compliments to women. Oftentimes, depending on who's giving the compliment, is determined how it's received, right? So if I'm an unattractive guy, I'm out of shape, I'm smelly, but I'm authentic in my compliment, the way that that's received is not the same as somebody that's 6'2", sharp, trim. And that just came up out of something that Omae said, and I was like, you know what? This could be a whole other topic. And just as dense as this, because the topic of self is nothing to play with. It's very layered. We have many sides to the self, as we talked about the dark and the light, the yin and the yang. Adriana brought up there's dark within the light. Self is where we return to when we go on that long journey of life. It's always a returning to self.
Cynthonia?
You had I was gonna say something, but I forgot, so I'm just leaving it alone. It had something to do with what Omae said, but I lost it. So
I just want to say as well, I think what you just said, I about, you know, who's delivering it. I think that I can only speak from my own personal experience. And I would say for me, I would say that's not true for myself because of who I am spiritually.
All right.
So I might find 6'4" well-presented dude a bit slimy, maybe. You know, if you can feel the intention, you know, sometimes yeah, because me and Omae had this conversation the other day that the people that I often can form friendships with, people don't expect me to, because I think people expect me from the outer perspective to be more shallow than I actually am. And some of the friendships that I had in work and stuff, you know, no one expected me and that person to be so close and for them to disclose things, for us to have this deeper friendship, because they wouldn't put the two of us together, but we connect on an internal level. So, you know, for me as an empath, and I think it is about sometimes, because as you said, I've been not smelly, but I have been fat. I have been fat. I have been like Adriana. I've had weight issues before. I was buck teeth as a teenager. If you saw pictures of me as a teenager, you probably wouldn't recognize me. I wasn't like my daughters who've never gone through a rough patch. I went through a rough patch, mate. Like I have transformed. I've been like a swan and I've grown into myself, you know. So I feel like I empathize with the underdogs or the people that are ignored. And I've seen how people have treated me differently when I'm overweight and how they treated me when I lose weight.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So I guess what I'm really getting at is outward appearance for sure, and how that's received. And maybe I'm thinking about people who were just not just super attractive. They could be mildly attractive, but they've never really, I guess it is within that shallow context.
I was just about to say.
Yeah,
Like, go ahead. You saying something, Adriana?
Go ahead.
what I was saying, what I wanted to say, what I forgot initially, and it ties in, like you were saying, Sister Caroline, about like the intention doesn't matter, right? Like it because it is its own self. If somebody gives, if a rich person donates, get a tax write-off, they're doing it for whatever purposes, but if they give it to this homeless organization and they benefit from it, whatever their intentions was or whatever they're getting back, it doesn't matter to those poor people who are about to get this food. They're about to get the food, right? Do you have people like what you guys are saying with the whole like a good looking person or a fat smelly person? It's the individual who is receiving the compliment. It doesn't, like, that's what it all boils down to every single time, because I know some beautiful pretty women. I've been in relationships with people who've been like, how? So like, and really it's just real talk, like, but they're really really gorgeous beautiful women, men, who would take a compliment from somebody fat sweaty because they can feel that energy and they're on that same energy. They have that whether how they look or they smell, they have that same or similar energy. It's a good energy, like it's a thing. Like, so you have a beautiful pretty woman that would you would see talking to this fat person, and the person's just talking and they're just being nice, just listening and saying thank you. Somebody come up and think they're a hot shot or whatever and they're trying to spit game, that same person might just and keep it moving. And I've seen in reverse, not so good looking people get compliments from somebody who's not so, and they want to shit on them. That's a self, they have issues within themselves, so they have to feel bigger, so that they need the compliment from somebody that they feel is higher or better or good, more good looking than them. But it all boils down to the person receiving the compliment, really. In truth, it's an energy thing. It's an energy thing. It goes anyway. Me personally,
100%,
I do not
100%.
care. I don't need no compliment from nobody. Like if I'm saying hi to somebody or whatever, and you don't take it, if you don't feel like, oh, you're not for me. It's not that's your issue. I give the compliment, I did, and I'm keeping it moving. That's on you. You're shallow. It's not my issue. I'm good. And I think that's the issue. We gotta start. Who cares? That's the issue. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that's just how I look at it. But like you said, it don't matter about intention. It's the act and the person receiving it, how they feel about it. Because people do things all the time acting like they're doing it from a good heart or a good place, but it's for whatever their own reason is. Me personally, as long as you're not hurting nobody and it doesn't come back to hurt nobody, if you give somebody $100,000 and you getting a tax write-off for it, that person need it, whatever. You still gave. You know what I'm saying? That's my perspective on it. I don't know how right it is, but it works for me.
Yeah, I want to add something. Sorry, did you want to speak, Omae?
Oh yeah, I'll get right into what's it, ethics now, because yeah, I think that, like, that's how I was saying, that there's like the difference between like universal and individual morality, because I think intention does really matter, because it's like when you're looking individually, like when you want to, there's a concept that we do which is called eudaimonia, and it's like human flourishing, and it's that you want to constantly become, which ties in with self-love quite well, constantly become a better person, and it doesn't really have an end. You just want to constantly keep developing yourself. And I think intentions are so important when it's individual morality, because it's like you're actually doing things out of the goodness of your heart. You're actually deciding, I'm going to give something to someone, or I'm going to say that compliment, and it's actually coming from yourself. But then, as you said, when we're talking about someone donating to charity, it, like, when you look universally, they've still donated to charity. So it's that conflicting thing. But I think individually intentions matter a lot. When we're looking at the wider world, they matter a bit less, because obviously that money donated is going to help people's lives and all these things. But then if it's not their intention, they haven't grown. If their intention wasn't to help people, they're not any better. If they didn't have any money, then they wouldn't be doing that. If someone's just a generous person, they could have £5 and see someone and go, I'm going to give them £1 of my money. And I think that's the difference, because sometimes not everyone's always going to be in them circumstances where they can donate a bunch of money. But I think that's where, because doing ethics, that you kind of, as I said, you go between both different sides. But I think individual like behavior, you actually developing morally and you developing spiritually, is way more important than however it looks on the outside, however the impacts on the wider world. Because then if everyone focused being like more moral individually, then as a whole everyone would become more moral. You know what I mean?
Man, touche. Two
100%
to the
agree.
shade.
Yeah.
Two to the shade. You got it. I digress. Go ahead, Sister Caroline. You did a thing. Mommy is
Yeah,
proud
okay.
right now.
I got an ethics nerd just
Oh,
now.
you should be.
That was
You
so
should be.
beautiful. That was
I gotta
so
do the
beautifully
Caribbean
expressed.
licks. Go on, girl. Go on, girl.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
that was powerful.
I want a shirt. I want a shirt that says intentions matter.
True. That was so beautifully said, like so eloquently, like very good. You made your point very, very well. And I agree 100%. Individually and you, all right.
I want to say that I think it goes, you've opened up a can of worms here, IMI, because I think it goes into that programming as well about what this society, the societies we live in, and your society is different to our society, but we're heavily influenced by your society, and equally the other way, because UK and America are very tightly intertwined in lots of ways. But it is that whole thing about this outward look and perception, because I've had conversations with people before, men that would be deemed to be really physically attractive or whatever, that say, people think I'm like this and I'm nothing like that. They think I'm a player. They think I'm going to, take advantage, and I'm not that way inclined. I've had young people. I remember when I worked in a college and we would do the sex talk or whatever, because we had to do the sexual education talk. And a lot of the boys and some of the really, charismatic, intelligent boys would be saying, I don't like when girls throw themselves at me. There's this whole perception that I'm going to like that. I'm actually very shy and I'm not sexually active and I don't do that stuff. But there's a perception of me that I am. And then I think for females as well, which I've experienced, and I think it's very fortunate that Omae's generation is changing. But that whole thing of, as a woman, you can't be physically attractive and intelligent. You've got to be one or the other. And when you combine the two, people don't know what to do with you. You know what I mean? You're supposed, if you're highly intelligent, you're supposed to look a bit more geeky. You're supposed to, you can't be fashionable and do your hair and your nails and be a law professor, but the times are in now, that's changed as time's gone on. And I think
For
that's
sure. Yes.
Yeah,
times have
accepted.
changed.
Yeah. Because I've always battled with being that perception of, in some circles, a black bimbo, because I've got long hair and I like to dress and so I can't have intelligence, and I definitely can't be well educated. And I've seen that with some of my nieces as well. Like we are very well presented. It's part of our family culture, but we're also very well educated. So I love the fact that things have changed so dramatically for the younger generations. You can be much more, and for yourself, like Cynthonia, we've talked about being a woman that is attracted to women. Whether you want to put a label on yourself around that is up to you, because again, you don't have to label yourself either. But women, you can be very feminine and walk around in trainers and jeans and sweatshirts, and no one's going to say anything now. But 20 years ago, if you did that, you were masculine. So
I actually experienced that one. Like, I don't like women, but I just like to dress like TLC. Like, leave me alone. I grew up in the 90s. It's a funny thing, the human perspective and mentality. It's all about mentality, not optics. It's definitely mentality.
It's a freer time, and when I say to the young people, I really mean it. What a time to be alive, because there's so many I knows that the society shackles when I was growing up was so much tighter. You had to be like this and you have to do this, and if you do this then that means that. Whereas now you can be a lot more free. CEOs are walking around in jeans and trainers. You know, you couldn't be a CEO in 1990 and walk around in jeans and trainers.
Unconventional. Very unconventional. Yeah.
Usually they're the most brilliant, truthfully, because they have that freedom to be themselves as opposed to being stuffy. It's just easier to be yourself no matter what that looks like, whether it's in a suit or whether it's in baggy jeans. It's easier to be yourself.
You can have a tattoo on your neck.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. You couldn't, you're crazy. Do you think you could have tattoos when I was growing up and think you're going to get a good job? You would be told, no, you're not allowed to do that. And especially not where you can see it. If you're going to do it, you better hide it. But now...
Oh, sorry, carry on. Oh, I was going to say also, I think that's one of the good things about social media is that, like, I've been... like, you see so many different representations of people, and even like who I am can get validated from looking at other people, because obviously before, like, it would be very like restricted to where you are, but now I can like go on Instagram and see people's lives, like living in different countries and different cultures and things like that, and I end up seeing people like me, like because mom always mocked me because I listen to K-pop. And if I go on Instagram and I see a bunch of other black people who also listen to K-pop, I'm like, oh, I'm the same. And that's quite nice, and it empowers you to be who you are. And even what you were saying with the tattoos, what was it mom was saying about the tattoos was that there's one girl that I follow and she seems really nice, and she's got full-on head to toe tattoos. They're symmetrical, they're on her head and everything. She was bold, they're all over her, symmetrical. And it's like, I would have never seen that. Like, where I live, no one's going to be walking around like that. But you get to experience, like, the whole world. And it definitely helps you kind of be solidified in who you are. Because you're like, oh, well, that person's the same as me and they're having a good time. Why can't I just do the same thing? So, yeah, that's the good part of social media, I think.
But I do want to say it's good, but you gotta be strong-minded, or stay balanced to not let it tip to be an affirmation and being like, oh yeah, you already know who you are, and then when you go and you see it's just validation, as opposed to you needing it as, you know what I'm saying, to move or to let it start building or forming identities, because then you can go from I know this is me to, well, why can't I do that? Well, maybe this is, and then you ease this slippery slope. So you just have to also, this is just true. This is mine, because the internet is a slippery slope, as good and as bad, but you have to be disciplined enough to, you know what I'm saying, have that balance.
Yeah, I had a friend, I won't go into it too deeply, but that's literally what happened to her. She went all of her school life without a phone or anything. She got a phone and then she got social media, and her personality completely changed because she didn't really know who she was. And she just adopted all these things that she found online and decided that's how she was going to be. And that obviously resulted in us not being friends anymore because she wasn't being her authentic self. So going back to that, and I was like, I liked who you were before when you were normal. Now you're not, I don't know who you are. And I think, as you said, it can definitely be a slippery slope, because then you can start not liking who you are and trying to assimilate and be like people that you like online, and then just completely change your personality.
True talk.
Yeah. We went into overtime today.
Yeah, man, boy. It's meant to go, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Can
I just say that I think I've really enjoyed this conversation. I really have enjoyed it. And it all goes back to even that last point that Cynthonia made. It goes back to that solid sense of self. Wherever you go in this world, whatever you're doing, if you've got a solid sense of self, you will be fine. But if your self-love ain't on point, and if you don't know thyself, and even that, a lot of people don't even know what that means, know thyself. I lost myself, or went really far away from myself is probably more accurate, and had to return to self. And I'm strong in self. So I think that, again, the universe will show you. But even that concept, even as I'm saying it, I'm correcting myself, because I'm like, I thought I was strong in self, but that was having lots of imposition. And what you said in your promo, Cynthonia, about you might have to do things that the people around you don't like. Even this was a real stretch for me, because everybody around me isn't going to do this. They're uncomfortable with this. And it took me finding you guys to do this, to give me the full confidence and permission to do it. So that whole concept of knowing thyself sounds so simple. Know yourself. But it is deep introspective work, you know.
Know thyself
Absolutely.
equals journey. It's a lifelong thing. You have to become yourself, you have to learn yourself to love yourself. That's a journey. It's a journey, because every day you evolve, every day you shed, you learn. So when people used to say, when I used to read and I used to hear, like, love the journey, fall in love with the journey, fall in love with the process, fall in love with the process, like, it just meant words to me. Like, I just couldn't understand, like, what the heck is falling in love with them? Like, what? Now I truly, 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 truly understand what, like, loving the journey and loving the process is. It's like, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be comfortable. You're going to have to sacrifice some friends, sacrifice some things, give up some vices. But in going through all of those things, trying, failing, progressing, falling back, going more, coming back a little, going more again. And that process is just like, now I could say, I never, ever, ever, before I got on this group with you guys, never, ever, ever have I ever had a moment in my life where I would do something, accomplish something or whatever, and just be like, I'm proud of myself. In the last, like, 3 months, I think I said I'm proud of myself, like, maybe like 10 times. Like, in just like, thank you. And just in like,
Yes.
like, elevating, just even in the last thing, like, when I lost my wallet and I I had that feeling of calm, and I was just like, I'm really proud of myself, because I know, like, a little while ago I would have been like stressed out, aggravated, had an attitude, this and the third. Like, so when I say journey, lifelong, like, some things you're gonna get right, some things, some vices you're finally gonna get under your control, and you're gonna be like, yes, you're gonna be able to move forward with a progression, with a little bit faster. But there's always going to be things that you have to learn from, grow from, experience, hurt from. Those things that you understand that you have to come into, and you go through them, and now you could meditate in it, and you could be present in it to learn a lesson, because it's never a loss if you learn a lesson. That's the journey. That's the journey, and that's self-love. That's dope. That's what I like to say.
Smashed it at the end. Cynthonia just put a lid on that thing, like, boom. That's how you end this conversation. Yeah.
Yep.
Indeed. Wonderful conversation. Super enlightening and very important.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got to
Amen.
talk about ethics, so I'm very glad. One of my favorite topics I got to talk about, so I had a great time.
Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, Omae. Hopefully you'll be here more often. Congratulations on being an adult.
Yeah, I know. Woohoo! Territory.
I do want to just say, just to close it in, is that Omae is a reflection of those around her, you know, and I've always called her friendship group the Geek Squad, and they would actually compete in terms of getting the highest grades. And they are super sweet girls that she's known, a lot of them, since she was 7. And I've said to her as well, that isn't usual that girl groups stick together that long. Girls usually kind of break up and make new friends. And so for one set of friends to stay together for 7 years, no, since the age of 7, sorry, so for 11 years, is the reflection of what we're doing as well. You know, when you find your tribe, as they say, you know, it's iron sharpening iron. And that's why this conversation is so fulfilling, and why I love this podcast, and why I love this group of people, because it's always a challenge, and it's always a challenge. And there's been quite a few moments during this conversation where I've you know, I cried. I felt really emotional, and I wanted to cry, because it's the connection, and that connection is truth, it's sincerity, and it's courage, because it does take courage to share your truth, you know. So it's a beautiful thing, very beautiful thing, and I'm so grateful that you embrace my child, and that she can come and sharpen her sword with you guys.
More like sharpen ours. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you talking about? I've learned so much today, and I've gained a lot more inspiration and clarity on how good we're going to be in the future because of people like your daughter. Thank God for you. I was a little concerned.
This is why I say this is divine, because I think it's, as we've expressed in different ways, we wouldn't necessarily, it's took a divine intervention to bring us together and to keep it going, because I wouldn't have seen this for myself a year ago at all, and now we're 8 shows in, and it's out there for the world. We're not sitting and having conversations in someone's lounge and nobody hears it. We've got the courage to put it out there, and I do feel intensely proud of it. I really do, because I think doesn't matter how many people see it, if 1 or 2 minds are influenced, it's worth it. I will let you close now, IMI, because I keep talking. Shut up, Caroline.
Well, we're both hosts, so either way it's fitting. But yes, there's work going on here, so you may hear in the background. But this has been another topic that is very dense, as was the last one. And with the Well-Beings podcast, you can expect nothing less.
Yeah, thanks. And the next one, while we're here, as we know what it is going to be, it's gender, isn't it? It's going to be the male-female. We're doing the male-female next.
I like that. I like that.
We're doing the elder parents, hosted by I Am Adriana T and Cynthonia. That's September. So we got some good stuff in the pipeline. Exciting.
Yes, indeed.